What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Age of Quarantine, and happy Friday night. Hope you're all doing well as you can be. I just got vaxxed for the second time, kind of snapping out of it. So I'm starting to feel better about, joining the world again. And, obviously we have a long way to go, but it's cool to feel like there's some sort of shred of hope here. I am really excited about tonight's episode and really can't say enough about Carl Severson, who you may know from the band Nora, which I have playing in the background here. Really a pivotal band, and also as a label owner, he was also running Ferret Records and now Good Fight Entertainment, and the whole renaissance of metalcore and a lot of stuff happening in the early 2000s until now between what he does for a living and his bands. He was around and responsible for a lot of stuff. We're going to get into it and ask him some questions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment or use the question mark box at the bottom of the screen. Going to get him on the screen right now, and we're just going to get into it. So thanks again, and really excited to get this episode started. Here we go. We'll get Carl on a couple of seconds here and get things going. Carl, what's up, man? How are you?
Good, man. Did I do this right?
I got you sideways like this, so we're just gonna need the phone. But other than that, everything looks good.
All right, sweet.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very good. It's plugged in, so now I got to figure this shit out. Hang on.
Hey, no worries, no worries.
I'm old. This it's all hard for me, right?
I just joined the 40 Club, man. I'm getting there.
Right? So you're creeping up.
I am creeping up. Yeah. It's funny because when you're into the music and lifestyle that we're into, you feel young forever. I think that's one benefit. Depending on how you look at it, we have our moments where we get stressed out, but it does keep us feeling youthful because we've been into it so long.
No, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it's yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'm 46, newly 46, but I've got 2 kids. My oldest is 22, so.
Oh my God, dude, that's insane.
Yeah, it's weird, but he's like a full-grown, real person, and we talk about music and stuff together, and it's now we've gotten to the point where we hang out, we're fun, and
yeah.
But yeah, I would never think of myself as fuck, I have a mortgage and kids and a wife and all this stuff. It just all feels the same. It's just, my apartment is a little less shitty, and more people count on me than they used to, but nothing else has changed a lot. We just keep doing what we do, and I'm lucky enough to have, I mean, hell, I made my living out of a hobby that I started back when I was young. So
right. I just realized that all of your followers are just joining and missed my intro. So I could see some comments, and some people are like, what's happening? So, and I also see a mutual friend, Mike Gitter, just joined. What's up, Mike Gitter?
Gitter, I sent you an email today. I need a response.
Gitter, get back to him, man. We're all depending on you. Anybody that follows you that is just tuning in, this is a show called The Age of Quarantine on the St. Vitus Instagram. I am the host, Chris Enriquez, and my guest here is, there's Gitter. My guest here is Carl Severson, who I know from Nora, the band Nora, from Ferret Records, and from Good Fight. So, we're gonna, as you said in your post earlier, we're gonna talk 90s, 2000s. We're gonna talk music, but dude, a lot of people have depended on you for a long time. So as a family man, I'm pretty sure you're used to that because you manage bands. You've signed a ton of bands. I want to ask you this as a formality before we get into everything, but let's just go here. How have you been managing to get through this pandemic and all this insanity that's been going on?
So it's been super weird. Initially, the whole thing kind of popped off, and we're just like anybody else, we were scared, and we were just like, fuck, what are we going to do? Do we go buy gloves and masks and all that sort of stuff? And luckily, my wife hates leaving the house, and So she was kind of built for this, and it was funny because early on I was like, I leave the house every day, no matter what, even if I have no reason to. And I've been working from home for a number of years. I go into the city twice a week because I work with E1, and so I go into their offices and stuff, and then I travel all the time. But when this whole thing came about and we're like, oh, you can't leave, I was just like, all right, that's weird. Like, I'll get stir crazy and I'll go nuts. I was talking to my wife and she was like, yeah, no, it's fine. She's like, this is what I do every day. And I was like, well, that's, and, but no, I was like, do we need to wear gloves? Do we need to, like, what do we have to do? Masks, that whole thing? Because I was like, the second ShopRite's open, we're going. Like,
right.
I don't want to stay locked down, and everybody else is locked down. I was like, no, I want to, put all the PPE on me, and I want to go and let's see what happens. And we didn't do that. We didn't do any of that. That was all my goal. And then we stayed home, and we got real acquainted with DoorDash and stuff like that, and just like everybody else. And it was weird. And for us, we were lucky, and we've got a nice place, and I was here with my wife and my youngest son, and we had a good time. I mean,
yeah,
it was weird.
It brings your family closer together in a way, right?
It was, because we were just stuck, and I was like, all right, so let's just move through all of Netflix and whatever we're going to watch and all that sort of thing. And then when it progressed, my oldest son lives in Florida. And he's in college, and then college shut down, and he was like, all right, we're doing all online. We're not doing anything. And then his job shut down and all this stuff. And he was like, Dad, so, food's starting to get expensive. And I was like, dude, just get in your car and come home. Like, just, come home. And so he Mad Maxed it home. He put his dog in the car, and he drove straight through from Florida. And he said it was the fastest he ever done it. There was no traffic. There was just nothing.
Right, it's a ghost town out there at the time, Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great because he's at that age where he's never going to come home and live for a month or 2 months again.
Sure.
But because of the pandemic, he did come home for that long. And that was cool. I mean, those are all the positive aspects. I mean, I don't want to dive into the financial aspects of.
No, we don't want to go personal, but it's always
terrible.
Nice.
It was.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that you and your family are enjoying time together.
Yeah, we just did. You do what you can with it, and it was all right. And we're blessed enough to be like, it got bad, and whatever, we'll get through.
Yes, you're a man of many hats. I mean, you manage, like I said, you manage bands, you have a label. I think that a lot of us took, some of us took a hit, many of us took a hit. Some of us embraced it and said, all right, well, I'm gonna fight this thing through. I'm talking about our jobs now, and like find creative ways to get the bands we work with or the bands that we're in to stay creative and in the public eye. Whether it was quarantine performances and stuff like that. Did you feel like the pandemic challenged you to get creative? And if so, maybe you could elaborate a little bit on how you were able to kind of take this and still stay active, I guess, if that makes any sense.
No, I mean, no, it makes perfect sense. And honestly, I had a number of bands, and they all reacted to it different ways. I had some bands that were just like, this whole playing in front of just in front of a screen or a phone or a video, whatever, but with no crowd. I had some bands that were just like, yeah, we're fucked financially, everything's brutal, but it just doesn't feel right, we're not going to do it. And I was like, I can't argue with that, if fine. And then I had other bands that were like, all right, let's figure out what we can do. And we did some cool creative stuff, and some of them did live stuff. And actually just today we announced this band Body Snatcher that that Good Fight and E1 signed together.
Congratulations.
Oh, dude, they're amazing band, awesome kids, and they basically we did that deal, And funny story about the show where I saw them. I'll tell you that in a second.
Yes.
It's going to make me sound old. But so we did that deal. Like, we literally did that deal. And then, like, you know, a month or two later, you know, the apocalypse hit. And so we had to come up with like some creative stuff to do because the band wanted to stay. They didn't want to be dormant. They wanted to stay relevant and dive into things. And they have a super creative manager, Scott Lee. He's probably not watching, but you know.
Oh yeah, shout out to Scott.
Yeah, one of the best dudes ever. And you know, so we all came up with stuff, and so they were like, you know, when they got into recording, you know, they just recorded a ton of extra songs, so we went hard with extra singles and stuff. We're just trying to be whatever we could do to be a little creative. I will tell you, the first time I saw that band, when I went there to, like, we'd already spoken a bunch, hang out, like, let's go chill and talk on all that. I was in Brooklyn, and they played. And
which venue were you at?
Was it Kingston or Kingstown?
Oh, Kingsland.
That place with the big fucking post in the middle of the.
Yep.
Yeah. So they played with Great American Ghost.
Yep, I remember that show. Actually, I wasn't there, but I remember it happening.
Yeah, and during Great American Ghost, it was funny because Ethan, who's a good friend and also one of my clients, was like, you know, your standard, everybody fucking kill each other, you know, sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And everyone pays attention, and, you know, just mosh, everything happens. And that place is fucking tiny, and there was no good place to stand, so I'm just like, fuck it, I'm old and not that small, so I'll just stand wherever I want.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely took some asshole hand-sprung in, literally with 2 boots into my face. And yeah, so my nose exploded. And a couple of my friends from E1 were just like, when I was just like, I wasn't even hurt. I was just like, I'm just so mad.
Yeah, right. Like
I
you got
like,
hit, and
really?
now you're bleeding. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did kick the kid pretty hard, which then I felt bad about because I was like probably 20 years older than him. And then I just wandered, you know, went off to the bathroom because my whole face was just bleeding. And yeah, so that was my first experience when I met, and then later on we figured out the deal with Body Snatcher. So
well, you got some people. I got a comment. Sean McLean, Body Snatcher is wild, great live energy. Clearly, great live energy. Gitter is congratulating you on a great signing. We're gonna get to this, but Andrew from the Dillinger Escape Plan fan club is saying that he loves that split that you guys did with Dillinger back in the day. We're going to talk about that because we're going to go deep. But
that's a deep cut.
Yeah, it's a deep cut, man. So that's pretty crazy. Congrats on that. Looking forward to seeing what comes from this new signing, and I think the music industry is seeing some life come back finally. So I'm sure it's only a matter of time before they get on the road and we can all catch them.
No, I mean, for what it's worth, I booked in this week and last week. I confirmed tours.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, sadly, I canceled some stuff in Europe because they're having a harder time than we are. But the U.S. this fall should be real. We should be. I'm not gonna say we're back to normal, but I think we'll have some life for sure.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, we're you know, I guess it's all steps, right? I know. I want to talk about Furnace Fest in a little bit and the bands that you're working with now. I know some of the bands you're working with are on Furnace Fest, and that's exciting. But yeah, there's shows coming back. I mean, I'm going to see Madball in 2 weeks. I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Yes, that's amazing.
We'll see how that goes. So take me back to the beginning, Carl. I know the answers to some of these questions, but for people watching out there, let's talk about where you're from and how did you discover hardcore, punk, metal, aggressive music. You know, really indulge us. You know, I'd love to hear about first shows, first records. How did all this happen into your life?
So, so I grew up military. My dad was in the Air Force. I grew up all over. I legit didn't really have friends, and nothing was ever comfortable until I moved to New Jersey. But the year before I moved to New Jersey, I lived in Virginia, and there was a kid named Adam, who was, I was a freshman in high school. He was a couple years older than me. We ended up in the class together because I was a little bit of a nerd. And somehow or other we got to talking, and his older brother was like a DC hardcore kid. So I kind of got into a little hardcore stuff through him, and he was just like, oh, hey, you should check out this and check out this. And I think that resulted in a Warzone tape cassette. And,
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah.
you know, and prior to that, I was like a you know, a little shithead skater kid. So I listened to punk. I listened to a lot of, like, you know, Ill Repute and things like that. But I also got into like Minor Threat and Black Flag and, you know, Agnostic Front. And
Carl, when is this? Is this the early 80s, mid 80s, late 80s?
this would have been mid 80s. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mid to late 80s, because that's, yeah. So yeah, I'm not young, but
no, it's okay. This is, hey, I wish I was around for. I didn't go to my first show until the mid '90s. Yeah, you're talking about.
Yeah, no. So you know, so I did that, and then that kind of got me into. I mean, the skateboarding thing was always that. I mean, that all I cared about was skateboarding, and then, you know, we got into. I mean, back then, you know, skateboarding, you listened to as much punk as you did, like, you know, old school hip hop and things like that, and it was awesome.
Dude, the skate videos, I remember those skate videos, like Public Domain, you know, all the Powell Peralta, you know.
Oh, dude, we lived for those. You know, Public Domain banned this, and then all the, you know, the A Street videos, you know, like Hocus Pocus.
Like, I mean, like Suicidal Tendencies with
those are basically the greatest things ever. Yeah.
Absolutely, I love that. That's that I hope still stays true through today. I know for me, you know, I'm slightly younger, but the skate videos is the first time I heard Suicidal and Descendants and things like that. So I feel you.
Yeah, I mean, we it's funny because back then, like, I heard that stuff and I loved it. I didn't learn anything from it. It wasn't until later, when it was all online, when I would go back and look at, like, you know, Hocus Pocus and be like, all right, I just want to listen to the soundtrack and then go find all those bands and stuff. But yeah, so I left Virginia and I moved to Jersey, and my first day of high school, I met Josh, who owned Trustkill.
Yeah.
I met Mike Olander, who ended up singing for Endeavor and then Burnt by the Sun. He played guitar with us in Nora. Like, he's obviously, you know, had his storied career with that. A couple other guys, my friend Kyle, some other people. My friend Kyle was the first person I met because my first day of school, I was wearing a Gorilla Biscuits t-shirt, and he was like, oh, you're into that? You know?
Hell yeah.
You know, and that was kind of like a game changer for me when I met those guys. And then, you know, I think I'm trying to remember the first show we went to. I don't know if I'm from the first show, but I do remember one of the earliest was like do you remember when, do you remember the Ritz in Manhattan?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean,
what's it called now? Was that still
Webster Hall?
Yeah, Webster Hall. Yeah. So they
Yeah.
used to do the hardcore Super Bowl there every year.
Yeah, that's right.
I think the first year I went to that was 1991. And
I saw that VHS tape back in is it Agnostic Front, Sick of It All?
Right. Actually, all right. So you know what? You're right. So that was 1991, because if you watch that video, you'll see Josh from Trustkill right up front singing along, which is, you know, pretty awesome and semi-hilarious because he was all little. And then the next year is when me and him and Mike from, you know, Endeavor and all that, we all went together, and our friend Kyle to the next one so that would have been the next year. But yeah, that would have been then. But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
crazy, you know, crazy times. New York was a different place back then for sure, as you definitely know for sure.
Yeah, I was. I mean, look, I was really young. I didn't go to my first I went to my first hardcore show. It was Sick of It All. You know, I'm calling it a hardcore show, but it was really kind of like a concert. It was with Helmet at Roseland, and that's massive, you know. But
wait, was that? Wait, it was Sick of It All, Helmet, and who else?
I don't know if anyone played first, because when I walked in, Sick Would All was playing, and it was the Scratch the Surface tour, and Helmet was on the Betty tour. So it was like those were the albums that they were promoting. I believe it was 1994 or 1995.
Yes, because that tour, they played Rutgers, and a bunch of us went. I don't remember who headlined. I think Quicksand might even play too at the Rutgers date, anyhow.
I mean, you're lucky if that was the case, man. I wish I saw something like that. But I would imagine in the Jersey days for you, the venues that you were going to, City Gardens, must have been a big one for you.
Yeah, that was the place. That was the first place I ever lied to my parents about going. It's like, oh, what are you doing? Going to my friend Josh's house, and like, nope, we're going to Trenton in a super nice part of Trenton. Yeah.
I got to see the documentary on that. I know there's a documentary out, and talk about how dangerous it was, and allegedly Jon Stewart was a bartender at some point, which is pretty rare.
Yeah. No, I mean, amazing place though. I mean, I saw tons of stuff growing up there, like bands now that were like, oh, it's cool. Eventually I got to see a lot, but the first times when you saw them, the first time I ever saw Bad Religion was there, and
wow,
stuff like that. Yeah. We have.
So when did you decide that? When did you like first start participating in the scene? We know about where you ended up. Everyone watching probably knows, but like, at what point did you start participating, and you went from being a fan to somebody in a band or whatever? What was your start in that sense?
So that really all came with that band Endeavor. Like, I mean, I love the music, and I wanted to do anything I could to be a part of it. And those guys were all my closest friends, and and then they started a band, and unfortunately, I have no talent, so
I wouldn't go that far. You're very talented.
I didn't, I mean, I forced it later, but they started the band, and I was like, I want to do anything I can to be a part of this. And for a couple years, especially in high school, I was just like, the friend and stuff. And but then when we got older, and they were like, fuck, we're gonna tour, and I was like, all right, well, I'll go, I'll carry shit, whatever, I'll sell stuff while you're playing, that sort of thing. So we did that, and then it came time, they were like, oh, we should put out a record, and nobody was jumping up to do it. And I was like, oh, I'll figure that out. I'll figure out how to put a, I mean, that's really what started it all. I was like, I want to do anything I can to be a part of this band Endeavor, because these guys are amazing, and I love the band. And
yeah, they were very important, man. Absolutely.
I mean, they started it all for me. I mean, that my inspiration to do any of this was just because I wanted to be a part of what they were doing. And since I couldn't be a part of it on stage or anything like that, even though eventually later on they let me, I'd do a song with them every night. But initially, like, the only way I could get involved was like, all right, I'll put this record out. Yeah. And I didn't even know what that meant, but we just did it and figured it out. And, it honestly worked out pretty great.
That seems like the start for a lot of dudes that got into starting a hardcore or an indie label. Revelation wanted to put out the Warzone record, Discord Records. That DIY spirit, I guess, because that's the time period that you're coming out of, where you want to be part of something, and it starts with the conversation with your friends. It's not the industry that you and I are in now, and it's great to be in a position that we're in now, but there's something really special about how we all got started, because we're a little bit older, we're not ancient, but I'm sure there's something going on now with some younger labels like Closed Casket and Triple B, and I'm starting to sort of see that, or Flat Spot. I'm starting to see that spirit that you and I are talking about, but it's just cool. I don't know. There's something.
No, I mean, there's some. I mean, I try and stay relevant and stay friends with everyone. I mean, like you said, Closed Casket. I mean, dude, he's killing it. I mean, Justin, and the cool thing is, you know, we've had tons of conversations. Will Putney.
Well, Putney.
Yeah, so from Fit for an Autopsy and End and stuff, he introduced us, and then we started talking and stuff, and he gets it the way, I feel like he gets the way we got it back in the day, and he's, you know, on a different level of successful right now. I mean, it's couldn't be more pertinent, and it's great. And yeah, I mean, you and I both know there's a bunch of people that are trying to put out records and do things and put out, you know, be in bands that don't get it and don't come from that world and don't have that sort of,
they don't have it in their mind.
Yeah, they don't have that heart or that ethos, but a dude like him and what he's doing and Triple B and things like that, I mean, those guys, that's the next wave, you know.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, it's definitely back. And so you eventually started singing in bands. Nora started in '96, if I have my information correct. So tell me how that happened from talking to Endeavor and being like, I'm going to start this label Ferret. I'm putting out your record. And then in '96, now you're singing in a band.
So that was the very end of college. That was my last year of college. There was a bunch of us that all lived together. I mean, we came out of New Brunswick, and if you lived in New Brunswick, I mean, I'm sure I mean, actually, I know for a fact because I saw you, you know, you came down to New Brunswick, and that was like, New Brunswick was like Dillinger and, you know, God forbid, and Lifetime and fucking, and, you know, like, and Bouncing Souls and something. I mean, New Brunswick was just like, I mean, it was just the mecca of like punk and hardcore and stuff. So like, you know, we wanted to be a part of it as well. And then Mike from Endeavor, you know, had started playing guitar, and he wanted to write stuff and play in a band. And then I'm pretty sure that he was just like, yeah, we should start a band and you should sing for it. Now, at the time, by then I had grown enough confidence where I wasn't immediately like, absolutely not. I was like, I mean, I guess, sure, maybe. And then, you know, we found the other guys in our band, and at the time it was a friend of ours from high school, played guitar as well, Kevin Murphy, and then Chris Ross, who been in more bands than anyone from New Jersey and is one of the best. And he's literally put on he did all the melody shows, you know. I mean, that dude is a pundit of New Jersey hardcore. And then our friend Spleet, you know, we had him play bass, and, you know, he was a little bit older, but, you know, we knew him. I had actually met him through an ex-girlfriend at the time, and we had stayed friendly, and, you know, and he actually used to roadie for Lifetime and stuff. So we were all just like, hey, none of us are actually doing things except Ross. Ross was in a billion bands, but the rest of us weren't. We were like, let's do something. And that's kind of how it came about.
That's awesome. And there was obviously, Nora is not like a traditional hardcore band. There's metal. So that seeped into it. Would you say, you know, because you mentioned being into a lot of hardcore, were you also a big metalhead?
No, I mean, honestly, I mean, as far as Nora goes, I mean, I had next to nothing to do with what it sounded like. I mean, outside of just them writing stuff and being like, I don't know how to sing over this, but I'll figure it out. You know, like.
I mean, that's what metalcore is essentially, which I want to get into.
Yeah.
You know, metalcore is something different today than it was. I feel like, I don't know if you're uncomfortable with that word, but I think that you had a lot to do with that genre, especially getting it as big as it did because of the things that you put out and contributed.
No, I mean, people say, I mean, I love the word metalcore. I mean, it makes sense for what it was. I mean, I remember when Ferret signed From Arm to Ashes, I was talking to, you know, someone, I'm not put his name out there, but either way, you know, he was like, dude, what the fuck? This is like Iron Maiden if they had mosh parts. And I was like, exactly. It's fucking awesome. You know, like, so, you know, we did it like, I don't know. It seemed like it made sense back then. But I mean, honestly, I feel like that's so much where hardcore comes from. If you go back and listen to like Cro-Mags and stuff like that,
oh yeah,
that's all. I mean, there's so much. I mean, you can't tell me if you listen to Age of Quarrel and you don't hear metal in that. You know, like,
oh my god, there's even one song that has like a Judas Priest like kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Not the singing, but the music. But that's metalcore, man. It's a hardcore singer over like a kind of metallic band, and obviously best wishes if we're gonna go there. But I grew up with the guys in From Autumn to Ashes, and you know what? All those guys were going to hardcore shows. I remember all of them, and you know, and they ended up in this sort of like metallic band, and they fucking went really far with it.
No, that was my favorite thing about, you know, metalcore, for, you know, whatever you call it. I just thought it was just like, it was young kids that were just like, hey, you know, we can play guitar, we can play our instruments, and this is what we grew up to, and, you know, but back then you could be in, you know, the hardcore scene and that sort of thing, without just playing like, you know, like straight up hardcore songs.
Right.
But they were just like, we like all this, and we just want to, you know, write something fucking ridiculous. And if you think about it, I mean, how many bands did he just come out so awesome with, you know? I mean, I don't know any of the guys in Cave-In, you know, like, I mean, obviously I spent a ton of time around them, but like, if you go back to Until Your Heart Stops or stuff like that, like,
oh, that's the best metalcore, right?
Yeah. I have no idea where their inspiration came from, but that wasn't like, it's not a hardcore record. No. It's not a metal record. It's just, but whatever they came up with that, like, that's amazing. So all the stuff around that, all the sort of things that we were putting out with Ferret, like, we just loved that. I mean, I remember the first time I saw Converge. The first time I saw Converge resulted in me putting out Petitioning the Empty Sky, because I saw him play in, I think we're in Lowell, Massachusetts, which is super nice. And, you know, and I saw him play and was just like, holy shit, I've never even seen anything like this.
I never saw anything like that in my life, dude. And like, you know, I again, even though there's the age difference, I mean, you know, it's still relative. Like, I was aware of Slayer and Metallica and Pantera, just as much as I was aware of, you know, punk rock and shit like that. But when I heard Converge, I never heard anything like that before. And it was, you know, Petitioning the Empty Sky, like you said. I was a sophomore in high school when I heard that.
Yeah.
But so let's talk about.
Make me feel old.
let's talk. I know. Well, let's talk about Nora. Let's go back to Nora, because, you know, you mentioned the Jersey scene. You mentioned you mentioned Dillinger Escape Plan. They're a huge part of that. You did a split with them. How did that come together?
I mean, we all just kind of came up together. I mean, they were ahead of us. Obviously, their band was drastically, you know, far and beyond what we were doing. But I was, you know, Ben and I have been friends for a long time. And, you know, at the time we were really friendly, and was friends with the other guys in the band, and they were doing something. And it wasn't long after I had started the whole record label thing. And, well, I had started it, but like, you know, I started to put out the Endeavor 7-inch, and then I put out a couple other 7-inches and stuff. And then a couple years later, it kind of started rolling, where I was like, all right, I'm looking for stuff to do. And, you know, and I was like, well, I'd love to do something with Dillinger. Yeah. And I had reached out to Ben, and they were like, well, we're you know, they had a number of offers to actually, you know, for proper record deals. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, you know, you shouldn't even talk to me about that. I mean, both those offers they had in front of them were drastically better, you know, is the better way to go. So we talked about those things, but I was like, hey, it would be fun if we did something together. It's like a New Jersey thing, you know, like a local thing. So that's, you know, kind of how that whole thing came about. And yeah, it was fun. I mean, I think we were probably more excited about it than they were, but I mean, we did it. And in hindsight, I don't think that ever came out on vinyl. I think maybe I'm gonna
dude. If you know, you should give me a call if you want to put it out on vinyl. I'm just
yeah, right? Maybe we should put that on vinyl.
We absolutely should. I'm gonna hit you up.
I mean, one of those two songs is one of my favorite Nora songs, just because it was like way faster than anything I'd ever sung on.
Well, if we're going to take anything away from this episode we're doing together, that's a great realization that you just
like it. Age of Quarantine vinyl.
Yes. Well, yeah, no, this is great stuff. I mean, I remember seeing Dillinger, and, you know, to play, you know, this is when we saw shows in catering halls, and, you know, Here Comes Dillinger Escape Plan. I remember they showed up and they had like an EP out, and fuck, I talk about a band that I've never seen anything like that. Like, went on to be legends.
Yeah.
So what a cool thing for you to have been a part of. Nora did about three. Correct me if I'm mistaken. He did 3 LPs and 2 EPs. The
Right.
last one being in 2007. What's up with the band now? I mean, according to Wikipedia, the band is not broken up.
Nah, I mean we're not broken up. We played. I mean, yeah, we put out the last thing in 2007, and then so my youngest son was born, and we still were playing after that, and then we got an offer to go play in Japan. We're like, fucking doing it, and my wife was like, all right, that's cool. You can stay home with a little screaming monster, and I'm gonna go to Japan with my friends. And but after that she was like, what are you gonna keep doing? So slowed down a little after that, and just kind of then work stuff got involved, and everybody ended up with fucking mortgages, and
Well, yeah, you've stayed very busy.
you
It
get
looks
old.
like
Yeah.
somebody watching is saying Discog says the only Nora vinyl is LI and KYFAD.
We're also gonna fix that whole Nora vinyl thing. Don't you worry.
There you go. And
Give me a minute.
you got everyone's panties in a pinch. You got Andrew from the Dillinger Escape Plan fan club is saying that this in fact never came out on vinyl, so it needs to happen.
No, it didn't, and that actually is a good point. It actually just dawned on me like that never did, and that's something that we'll fix.
Yes.
Because we're in a position, like, and thankfully, we can do that, and I mean, Josh from Trustkill, did a number of all of our records and stuff, and he actually made it a point before he started Bullet Tooth to he got us our rights back so we can do whatever we want with the records, and that was just
that's fantastic.
Because he's that kind of guy. So that was a big deal.
Man, he's great. Look, before we, I still want to stick on like a lot of we didn't really touch too much upon like the rise of metalcore. We talked about like sort of like the beginnings of it, but throughout your journey, running Ferret Records, and being in Nora, your roster was huge. You ended up putting out records by everyone from the Bronx to Zayo, Madball, Killswitch Engage, In Flames, Every Time I Die, and then even bands like Ice Nine Kills, who today are a contemporary band, and young fans all over the place are freaking out about them. Do you have like fond memories? I'm sure there's a lot that you can kind of go through, but like now you're this dude that's going out and signing bands. You're seeing a return. These bands are getting big. I want to say like after Thursday blew up, this whole fucking, who are also from Jersey. That's when we started seeing these bands on MTV, and some of them now, like Killswitch Engage, who you signed, are playing shows with. I think they went on tour with Iron Maiden, if I'm not mistaken. That's nuts.
Yeah, no, they did. Yeah. I mean, it's been weird. I mean, we got, it's funny because my oldest son has a way better ear for music than I do, and he really wants to get into music. And he was like, "Oh, what should I do?" And I was like, honestly, like, you turned me on to newer stuff than I know now, and things like that.
Wow, really? So he likes metal and hardcore?
Yeah, but he does. He likes metal, he likes hardcore, he likes death metal, he runs the gamut, but he has a deep knowledge of like hip hop and more contemporary stuff as well, like way more than I ever did. I mean, I grew up, I was like a little punk skater kid, and then I became an elitist hardcore kid, and I cared about hardcore. And like we were talking about metal before, I didn't start listening to metal till I was deep into college. And I only did that because I was so into hardcore that I had been told that hardcore roots were in metal. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and listen to Sabbath and stuff like that.
Wow.
See if that actually makes sense. And yeah, so I was always just like, I was always very tunnel focused, like, I'm not eclectic. I mean, I like stuff now. I like tons of stuff, but growing up, I just like, especially when I was doing Ferret, I mean, it's just what I liked. I mean, the metalcore thing,
respect,
like,
man. I mean,
like, I just really, that's what I enjoyed. I just always thought it was like kids being like, all right, I grew up listening to metal, or I grew up listening to hardcore or something, and I want to mix them. And I just want to, like, how can I throw it together? How can I make this crazy heavy part with a solo over it and then roll into a chorus? And I loved what people were doing with that, and a lot of people were like, yeah, it sucks. And I was like, no, but it's really, really cool and crazy, and it's got no rules and no boundaries, so let's
it's rebellious. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, it's still rebellious, and it's also extreme, and it's just pushing the envelope of creativity. The early 2000s saw, whether people liked it or not now, when they look back or whatever, at the time, it was an exciting thing to see people kind of spread their wings a little bit. Things have to evolve. They can't stay. Everything is not going to sound like Minor Threat forever. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I mean, and that would rule, but no. But I mean, bro, you got to do something new and exciting, and that's what young people do. They're just like, it's the beauty of hardcore is they just get out there and play. And then, I mean, for me, hardcore was less of a sound and more of like, like what you believed in and what you were saying and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and that was like, talking about burning down the state, or that you really missed your girlfriend. Either of those things, I mean, it could still be hardcore. And
I feel you, man. Speaking of awesome bands from back in the day, got a shout out here from Hopesfall. They're watching right now and saying, "What's up, Carl? What's up, dudes?" So
I spent 2 weeks in a bus with them in Europe, and they're some of the best humans ever.
Guys, I know you watch all the time. I gotta get you on this show. So sorry for taking so long. You guys have been really supportive. I imagine Hellfest. I mean, Hellfest was. I played a lot of those early Hellfests with on the Might of Princes. Those festivals were absolutely enormous. They were game changers for bands like mine. We were coming out of basement shows to stages in front of thousands of people, and a lot of the bands that were playing were not just the band that you're in, but bands on your label. Talk about like the impact that either your label had on Hellfest, or the impact that Hellfest had on you. I mean, let's also remember that there were DVDs, and this is an explosion going on of everything.
I'm gonna miss saying a lot, because I'm gonna just say it off the cuff, but but obviously Josh from Trustkill is one of my best friends on the entire planet, and Hellfest wouldn't have happened without him. I mean, basically ran all of them, and which also gave me kind of an open door to be like, hey, I can wander around, do whatever I want. And yeah, he put us on, deservingly or not. We always were decent spots, thanks to Josh. And but he was always super good. The Ferret bands were always on, and but I mean, they were fun. I remember the first Hellfest. Most people don't know, the first Hellfest was in like a dining room at a hotel in Syracuse. Like, it wasn't a club or a stage or anything like that, and it was still awesome. And not to out myself, but actually shortly before that, I had stopped being straight edge, and Good Clean Fun played. So Mike Mowry's not watching, but if he ever watches this,
I love Mike Mowry. What up, Mike?
Oh, he's my favorite. I mean, he's amazing, but fuck him. So they played, and immediately after Nora played, and he spent the whole set just making, picking on me and making fun of me and asking.
Oh,
but yeah, that's what I remember the first Hellfest. But
dude, I didn't know that he was in that band.
Oh yeah, Good Clean Fun. I mean, yeah, that was him and Issa, and it was.
I had no idea. This is blowing my mind right now. I didn't even know that he was in a band.
Oh yeah. And you remember your label, Ferret Records?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so funny. By the way, Melissa Cross wanted to give you a shout out, and she says thank you for keeping it all alive. So,
Well, I was never an excellent vocalist. I might have towed the line of acceptable, and if I did reach acceptable, it's because of her. So
everybody watching, if you don't know Melissa, she taught a lot of the greats out there. So check her out if you're looking to learn how to
ever want to feel really, really awkward, do some vocal lessons.
Yes. well, yeah. I mean, Josh started Hellfest, and I was at 2001, 2002, and that was like, these are crazy times. It was the first time I saw Mastodon. I mean, fuck. Yeah. Then now we're talking Misfits are playing, and there are bands playing that were not that big at the time that were just starting to get big. Like Coheed was starting to get bigger. They were playing. Right. You look at the lineups and there are bands on the bottom of the bill. Like Every Time I Die wasn't that big yet. What a crazy time.
Hellfest is how Rich Thurston, he's not watching, but if he ever does, got to give him credit. We were at Hellfest. I want to say it was 2000. It could have been 2001. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was the one that got moved. They did it, and I forget where, and then it got moved, and it was a whole big fucking ordeal. But anyway, so all the bands played 15-minute sets, which in hindsight, especially as an older guy, I'll watch any band play a 15-minute set. I don't want to see anyone play an hour. Like 15 minutes, sign me up. Just hit your bangers, get in, get out. But either way, my friend Rich was like, dude, you got to come see this band. And I was like,
talking about Rich Hall?
What?
Rich Hall?
No, it wasn't Rich Hall. It was Rich Thurston.
Okay.
And he was like, come see this band. And he made me come watch Every Time I Die. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And shortly thereafter, I signed them. Yeah. And Rich Hall, also one of the best humans of all time.
Oh, yeah. I love Rich. Shout out
He's
to Rich.
Hurt me more than most people that I'm friends with. All out of love. Just, stage dive incidents.
Oh, man.
Rich doesn't stage dive over you. He just likes to do it on you and crush you.
Take you out. Yeah. God, fucking a lot of bands just became legendary from that time period, man. And I should mention, too, by the way, From Autumn to Ashes is playing on December 16th and 17th at Market Hotel in Brooklyn. I'm going to do a shameless promotion because my hardcore band Total Meltdown is opening, and it's a real show. It's not a live stream, and Shai Hulud is playing. It's their first show in 5 years, so
dude,
that's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We're actually, you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
I guess everyone watching want to hear something funny. So obviously I own Ferret. I started Ferret, owned Ferret, and then I did sell it to Warner. At the time, it was a good idea. Probably shouldn't have. Either way, made sense at the time. But so I've since now I've gone back and licensed records. I'm literally paying Warner to put out old records that I from Ferret. But whatever. No one else is doing it, so we're gonna roll out a really, really awesome From Autumn to Ashes record. It's a gatefold record with
hell yeah,
both covers and stuff. That'll be coming soon.
Thanks for announcing that, man. And then let's talk about that off the record. So we could help do some promo for it, because I know we'll want to get behind that. So we're coming down the home stretch here at the end, and I want to now get up to speed with Good Fight. Is the label that you started in 2010, and you've had everyone from contemporaries like Trapped Under Ice, who are one of the best hardcore bands out there, and then legends like Terror, and 68. I was actually just listening to. I know they're playing Furnace Fest, and it's such a cool, diverse roster, because then you have a legendary band like Chokehold, who those out there that don't already know, that was a fucking highly inspirational band for a lot of people back in the day. So talk about Good Fight, how that came to be, and let us know what we should keep a lookout for and what's happening.
Good Fight was once after Ferret, we did the deal with Warner, and we sold it, or I sold it, and you know, and then part of the deal was we stuck around for a while to keep going. And then it just got to the point where, so we did that deal, and admittedly, we did the deal, and 2 months after we did the deal with Warner, Tower closed.
Oh
And
God, yeah. I used to work at Tower.
yeah, I don't know if anyone watching is a student of music history or how it works or anything, but when Tower closed, the entire music industry changed overnight.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't a gradual change. It was literally hit a wall, fall off a cliff. Everything fucking changed.
Yeah.
So everything our deal was predicated on became a fantasy, you know? And
Yeah, it was a dark, weird, confusing, strange time.
yeah, I mean, literally, you guys, we could do a whole different, you know, thing just talking about that. But so anyway, so we were like, all right, well, that's fucked. And then like, so anyway, it got to the point where Warner was like, all right, this shit's not working, but it can work. And they were like, all right, Carl, come in. And my partner at the time, and he was like, you know, like there was a couple other people like, all right, you can bring in, and then everybody else you got to let go. And I was like, and then you got to come in and work at a Manhattan or offices,
Right.
And just cut all your overhead off, cut out people, all that sort of stuff, which 100% financially made sense. But I was like, yeah, but I don't like, it's not like I just hired people I didn't know.
These are your friends.
Like these, yeah, it was like this dude was like, these dudes were in my wedding. Like these dudes were.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like normal in the,
so like
corporate world, but these are your buddies.
yeah. So we did have a back door that my ex-partner's credit. He had a back door and he found it. So we were like, all right, fuck it. We took that, and we had a very amicable divorce from Warner, and so we started something new, and it came up with Good Fight, and you know, we just wanted to go back to, you know, doing it our way, and it's been up and down and all that sort of thing, but like we're still here, and you know, I'm proud to say that you know, my partner at Good Fight is the first dude that I ever hired at Ferret.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And he's still like, you know, I mean, he, my best friend Portland is a graphic designer. He worked at Ferret for years and years and years, and he was one of the first people that ever came on at Ferret. He's way too good to work for Good Fight now, but he, you know, in addition to his real business, he slums with us and does stuff and like that.
It's the love, man. It's that love. I mean,
yeah. So we keep doing it, and no, and honestly, it's been really good. You know, like we put out, you know, Yashira and Cryptodaria, and like, you know, we got to get to put out a Chokehold record. I mean, when I wasn't in high school, but I was in early college when the first time I saw Chokehold and Bloodlet were on tour. And
those are legends right there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they stayed at my parents' house.
That's crazy. Yeah, man. That was
us, and like, and now, you know, we've done all this. So like, it's, you know, that's
you've got a lot of great releases under your belt. Are there, are there some releases that you want to let everyone know about that are coming out soon? And also, since I mentioned Furnace Fest, and I know 68 is playing, are there any bands, other bands on the roster that will be at that or anything like that? I wasn't sure.
Unearth, who I manage, they're playing, and obviously they're amazing.
Hell yeah.
68 are going to be playing, and the whole thing is just, you know, that was a fun overall Nora show. We played one of the Furnace Fest, so it's going to be great to have everybody there and out. Record wise, so we just announced we signed this band Tooth and Claw, and it's Scott from Earth Crisis. And
oh hell yeah.
Earth Crisis, I grew up thanks to Josh from Truskill, you know, he was my best friend from high school, and then he went to Syracuse, so I went up there, met all those guys, and I've been a fan of that band since forever.
Huge fan as well, yeah.
And yeah, I still remember the first time I saw them play. They're all on stage with face masks, which is funny because now that would look normal, but back then, you know, we're like
pretty badass, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They look badass now, yeah. But if you listen to Tooth and Claw stuff,
I gotta check that out.
Dude, it's Scott playing guitar. You can't help but hear it. You know, you'll hear it. You'll hear the similarities. We just signed another band, and I'm trying to remember if we announced them. I don't think we did, so I won't say it. But
no pressure. I mean, everyone can follow the label online,
yeah.
Updates. But who are you managing these days as well? I wanted to just get that out there as well.
Well, I manage so 68.
Great band.
And honestly, anyone, please just go listen to their newest record. I mean, that band is just like, it's just brilliant. I mean, this is the band that before the fucking the pandemic shit blew my mind. Like, so we had a tour booked with Korn and Faith No More. And
shit, dude, I was on that tour.
You were on that tour.
I was on the same. It was going to be them before. I can't remember if it was this.
We got half and we got half. Yeah.
Oh no, we got half and then you guys got the other half.
Yeah. But
so
that's insane. And this was never announced because this got confirmed, and then literally 5 days later, the world ended. But
I was so pissed.
Foo Fighters dates.
No fucking way.
Yeah, legit Foo Fighters dates.
I mean, I know personally how pissed I was when the Korn tour was canceled, but I mean, Foo Fighters on top of that, like. I'm just gonna say I'm sorry, dude, because that sucks.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. They don't take bands out. They were just like, we love this, so we're gonna take them out for 5 shows.
Fuck, man, I'm so sorry, dude.
So, yeah, I spent 5 days trying to figure out production and how we're gonna do it because you have to look at the Foo Fighters stage, and I was like, I've never been on a full circle stage or any of this.
Yeah.
I was like, how do I make 2 dudes look cool on this? But either way. So that didn't happen.
The new album's great.
The band's amazing. We've got some other stuff coming up. Those things are probably still going to happen. So they're amazing. I manage On Earth, who are some of my oldest and best friends.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I love those dudes.
I saw them play a killer show at War 2 years ago. Yeah.
They, my favorite last Warped Tour memory was with them. Because my son, who's at the time was 12, he's 14 now. At the time was 12. Was you know, I had to go in the back with a couple guys from the band and have like a work conversation. And then I came out and I left my son out there with the other dudes in the band and some other guys that were there. And I came out and my kid comes up to me and was like, "Dad, Ken," who I love, Ken. Ken said I can sleep over on the bus tonight. And I was like, yeah, that's probably not gonna happen.
Oh man.
But yeah.
Tables have turned.
No, but great guys. I also manage Craig Owens, and we are revitalizing the band Drugs. They put their first record out years ago, so we're gonna, he has been fully in the mix on that. We have an album coming. We're in the process of confirming a producer, and that's going to be off the chain. Super excited about that. I manage the band Horrors from Atlanta.
Yeah. Shout out to those guys. I love them. Yeah.
Brilliant band. They're in the process. They've written half their new record in June. They'll finish writing it. I manage Varials from Philly. Young kids who are just brilliant and excited and just work damn near harder than any band I've ever worked with, and just perfect. So it's like, yeah, no,
lots of stuff happening, man. And I hope that 68 fucking gets their due after all that. I know I mentioned that a few times, but I was just actually listening to an official grunge playlist on Spotify of like current up-to-date grunge bands, and that was one of the songs that came on. And I didn't know it was them. I had to look at. I was like, oh, what is this? So it was actually like pretty authentic. I looked down. I'm like, oh shit, it's the band that Carl manages. I'm about to interview him. So,
I mean, that band is just I mean, Josh is just the best dude. I mean, I've never met anyone more creative and more brilliant than that kid. And just so much stuff is coming his way. So
That's awesome, dude. Well, it's 9 o'clock. We've had you for an hour. I wanted to. I feel like we got into a lot of great stuff, and honestly, I could have kept going. And hopefully, when we get together in real life, which hopefully will be sooner than later, I'm fully vaxxed. We can continue this conversation. And
I'm fully vaxxed. I got the dose. I got 2. So
fuck yeah, man. Well, come out to Madball. Let's hang out. I'll be there,
dude. That needs to happen. So all right, good.
Yeah, man. Dude, thank you so much for doing this. I had a great time chatting with you. We don't really get the chance to do this enough because it's we're always so busy, and when we talk, it's business. So it's cool to just chat about the stuff that we love. And you have such a. I was telling Bill before this, I'm like, sometimes I forget, like it slips my mind whenever like I see Carl that like he is the same guy that like did all this stuff, and now it's like I'm like doing my research for this, and it's like that's kind of crazy. It was a really big. It's a big deal,
I think the same thing with you because I met you in Long Island at like silent majority shows.
Hell yeah.
And then and then it turned into South by Southwest and us, like together. And no, but that's the beauty of what we do, and people don't fully get that. Like we all were just kids.
Mm-hmm.
With hobbies that were doing something that we cared about, and then all of a sudden a bunch of us
yeah, man,
have jobs that bounce us around the whole world, and and the US and that sort of thing, and that's
something to be said about that, man, because it's
we're
not a hobby for us.
Really lucky.
Yeah, we're lifers. That's what we are.
Yeah.
So, dude, stay safe out there, and let's get on let's make some plans soon. Maybe we could get Bill and Steve out and really just get back to some normal life again.
Absolutely, man. I mean, especially with Bill, Steve, Kyle from E1. I mean, those guys, best dudes. So yeah, we got to do that.
Absolutely, dude.
All
right. Take it easy, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure, man.
Okay.
See you soon. Bye.